Beneath the frozen shelves of prehistoric Europe, a species walked that could shatter bone with their grip, yet craft delicate tools with surgical precision. Not quite human, yet unmistakably our kin. Their blood still courses through our veins, a whisper of a time when strength meant survival, and our kind was not alone. 400,000 years ago, as ice sheets crawled across northern lands and retreated again in cosmic rhythm, Eurasia became the crucible for one of evolution's most magnificent experiments. The world was colder then, a realm of extremes, where vast tundra stretched beneath leaden skies and forests clung desperately to warmer valleys. Into this harsh theater emerged a species not built for speed or flight, but for power and endurance. They would inhabit these hostile lands for over 300 millennia, 10 times longer than our recorded history. A species that would eventually cross paths with our own ancestors, leaving traces in our very genome. This was the age of megafauna, when creatures of impossible scale roamed the continent. Woolly mammoths standing 14 feet at the shoulder, their curved tusks longer than a tall man. Cave bears, dwarfing today's largest grizzlies, that could rise up on hind legs to the height of a modern ceiling. Steppe lions, more massive than any big cat alive today, stalking through tall grass with ancestral ferocity. In this landscape of giants, the Neanderthals carved their niche, not as prey, but as apex predators themselves. Their world was not merely cold, it was relentlessly demanding. Each day presented a singular challenge: survive. There were no second chances, no safety nets, only adaptation or extinction. The bitter winds that swept across these ancient plains didn't just shape the land, they sculpted flesh and bone across generations, transforming these archaic humans into something evolution had never before attempted. From a distance, they might have appeared almost like us. The same forward gaze, the same thoughtful posture, perhaps a similar gait. But closer inspection would reveal a being shaped by different forces, molded by different pressures than those that formed modern humanity. Their frames were compact, shorter than modern humans by 5 inches on average, yet paradoxically heavier. A Neanderthal male typically carried 180 pounds on his frame, with females reaching nearly 150, 20% heavier than modern humans of the same height. This was no simple difference in diet or lifestyle. It was architecture. Their skeleton was a fortress, every bone denser, every connection reinforced. Their shoulders built like shield walls, connected to arms that could deliver crushing force. Their femurs, those critical pillars of bipedal movement, weren't just strong, they were virtually unbreakable under normal conditions. Kneecaps, like armor plates, protected joints built for explosive power rather than marathons. This wasn't merely evolutionary chance, it was necessity. Their hunting strategy required closing distance rapidly and deploying immense force at close range. While modern humans would eventually evolve to pursue prey to exhaustion across open savannas, Neanderthals were ambush predators who confronted their quarry face to face. Their hands tell this story as well, fingers ending in broader tips, thumbs set at wider angles. Not the precision instruments of a watchmaker, but the power tools of a hunter who needed unbreakable grip on spears thrust directly into the flanks of mammoths and woolly rhinos. Behind their prominent brow ridges lay eyes approximately 15% larger than our own, eyes that could gather more light, process more visual information, and see with greater clarity in the dim conditions of northern winters and cave dwellings. These eyes connected to truly remarkable brains, housed in skulls that dwarfed our own. The average Neanderthal male possessed a brain case measuring 1,640 cubic centimeters, nearly a third larger than modern humans. Yet this wasn't the delicate neural architecture that would eventually write symphonies and launch spacecraft. This was a specialized processor, with proportionally more space dedicated to vision, smell, and body control than abstract reasoning. Their barreled chests weren't merely a different body shape, they contained lungs with capacities exceeding our own by 20 to 40%. Through nostrils wider and longer than ours, they could process air at double the speed of modern humans. One exceptional specimen could potentially hold 9 liters of air in his lungs. a capacity exceeding all but the most elite modern athletes who have ever been measured. This accelerated metabolism wasn't luxury, it was survival. The cold northern regions demanded rapid energy conversion to maintain body temperatures. Their daily caloric requirements reached between 4,500 and 6,700 calories, nearly triple what most modern humans consume. They were living furnaces, burning fuel to keep the cold at bay. But the true marvel of the Neanderthal was not just their physical capabilities, it was their resilience. Their bodies carried the record of their brutal existence. Between 80 and 95% of recovered specimens show evidence of severe trauma that had fully healed. Consider this reality. A single elderly Neanderthal, discovered by modern archaeologists, had survived losing an entire arm, suffering damage to his clavicle, being struck with such force in the face that he was blinded in one eye, and enduring repeated trauma to both ears until new bone growth completely sealed his ear canals, rendering him deaf. Yet somehow, he had survived. Not just for days or weeks, but long enough for these catastrophic injuries to heal. Nearly 3/4 of analyzed specimens show evidence of surviving violent encounters with predators, not as prey, but as the aggressor. 21% bore the marks of confrontations with big cats. 17% had survived wolf attacks. And most remarkably, 36% carried the scars of bear encounters. These weren't animals hunting Neanderthals, these were bears defending themselves from Neanderthal hunters. Their muscular architecture wasn't merely strong, it was superhuman by modern standards. The concentration of fast-twitch muscle fibers in their bodies would have allowed for explosive power that modern Olympic athletes would find impossible to match. A male Neanderthal without any specialized training might have been capable of bench pressing 500 pounds. A feat that remains elite-level performance even among modern powerlifters. Females could likely manage 350 pounds. A weight that would qualify them for international competition today. Their endurance was not in running, but in carrying. Evidence suggests they could transport 50 pounds of meat across 30 miles, equivalent to carrying a modern 6-year-old child while walking 138 laps around a football field. This raw physicality served a singular purpose: survival through direct confrontation with the megafauna that dominated their world. Where modern humans would eventually develop projectile weapons to kill at a distance, Neanderthals evolved to become the weapon themselves. Despite these remarkable adaptations, or perhaps because of them, Neanderthals vanished from Earth approximately 40,000 years ago. The very specializations that made them masters of the cold northern regions may have become evolutionary dead ends as the climate shifted and new competitors emerged. As modern humans migrated northward from Africa, they brought different advantages, not the raw power of the Neanderthal, but adaptability, complex social structures, and perhaps cognitive architectures better suited to innovation. The Earth was changing, and being perfectly adapted to yesterday's world offered no guarantee of surviving tomorrow's. Yet their extinction wasn't complete. Brief periods of coexistence with early modern humans led to interbreeding. Today, most people of non-African descent carry between 1% and 4% Neanderthal DNA within their genome, genetic echoes of ancient encounters between two intelligent species at the dawn of human dominance. What legacy did they leave in our blood? The science remains incomplete and often contradictory. Some studies suggest subtle influences on physical appearance and athletic capabilities. Others point to impacts on immune systems, pain thresholds, and metabolic functions. But the true genetic heritage of Neanderthals within modern humans remains one of paleoanthropology's most tantalizing puzzles. The physical traits that made them remarkable, their massive chests, powerful limbs, and adapted senses, evolved in perfect harmony with their environment and survival strategy. They were not failed humans or primitive ancestors. They were a parallel experiment in human evolution, a different answer to the same question of survival. For 360 millennia, they thrived in conditions that would have killed unprotected modern humans within hours. They hunted beasts we can now only marvel at in museum displays. They survived injuries that would be fatal even with modern medicine. And they crafted tools, created art, cared for their sick, and communicated with depth and nuance. Perhaps the Neanderthals never truly disappeared. Their blood flows in our veins. Their genetic code helps shape our bodies. And in those moments when we push beyond perceived physical limits, when we endure what should be unendurable, when we heal from what should be unsurvivable, perhaps we are not just drawing on our human resilience, but tapping into something deeper and more ancient. A shadow of the ice. A whisper from those forgotten titans who once ruled a world colder and more merciless than we can imagine, yet somehow made it home.